If you have an unstable shoulder or have been given the label of shoulder instability, then there's a very good chance you've been given some rotator cuff strength exercises, whether it be external rotation or internal rotation. But what I want to show you today is a very simple exercise that I give to my patients clinically that I find to be more effective than just the regular banded rotator cuff exercises. It doesn't require any equipment and is really safe and effective to do, irrespective of what shoulder instability means to you. So if you have been working hard on your external rotation and internal rotation strength exercises, and you are yet to feel like it's made the meaningful changes that you've been looking for, then give this exercise a try. So first things first, if you have been given the basic external rotation and internal rotation exercises for shoulder instability, I don't want this to sound like that they aren't an effective set of exercises to do. Because we're all mature and adults here, we can do two things at once. I just find that the traditional rotator cuff strength exercises are limiting. And although you can progress those rotator cuff exercises quite well, where we start with a resistance band with your elbow by your side, and we can make things harder by eventually getting to 45 degrees, doing the same thing, then coming up to 90 degrees and doing the same thing, which can benefit people or athletes who need to do their work in this position. Because rotator cuff strength exercises are designed to target the rotator cuff generally in isolation, this is where the disconnect develops. Working on your specific external rotation and internal rotation rotator cuff strength clearly has value. But the perspective that we often miss with these exercises is that they are designed to target those rotator cuff muscles in isolation. But what we know functionally is that your shoulder doesn't function as a group of isolated muscles working independently. At some stage, everything needs to work together to maintain stability. But as I mentioned, that stability doesn't just come from your rotator cuff, it comes from everything at the same time. So even if you have a structural instability, maybe the ligaments aren't doing their job as well, or maybe you have sacrificed some bony stability because of an accident or some surgery that you've had, we still don't know what your limiting factor will be, what the thing is that's causing your instability, until we get everything working together as a whole and see what might be left over, if anything at all. So as I mentioned, please don't just shelve your rotator cuff strength exercises. Do this as well and see if it adds something more meaningful to your rehab program. And if it does, let me know in the comments down below. But all this exercise is that we want to essentially turn your shoulders into hips. And while we know that when you have your foot on the ground, it engages all of your hip musculature, we can do the same thing by having your hands on the ground as well. We can get you into a hands and knees position or a push-up position if you feel that you're able to achieve this. The idea of this exercise is we want to make sure that your shoulder blades are back. We want to retract those shoulder blades so you feel like your shoulder blades are sort of meeting towards the middle. The next thing is with your hands facing forwards, imagine that you're screwing your arms outwards without letting your fingers move. And how that looks is you'll see that the point of your elbow will rotate backwards. But what you'll feel is if your shoulder blades are back and you create that external rotation stability, you'll feel that suddenly your shoulder joint feels more secure and more stable. Because what we're doing here is we are engaging those same rotator cuff muscles that you're trying to strengthen with your banded rotator cuff exercises, but we're doing so in a weight-bearing functional way. And as simple as this may feel to do, once you can get the rotation sense and your shoulder blades are back, we can challenge these muscles as a whole, your shoulder girdle musculature as a whole, by now doing something as simple as a shoulder tap, where we take weight off one hand, tap your shoulder, come back down again. Make sure you create that stability, and we can just alternate from hand to hand, ultimately trying to spend as much time as possible with pressure going through that entire shoulder in a more stable, integrated position. Now again, you can keep doing the same side if you want to, but the goal here is to start to generate some fatigue. And if you feel like this becomes too easy for you, then again, we can make it harder by progressing towards the push-up position. Same thing, we can start to put more pressure through here, and instantly you'll feel the amount of load going through there increases substantially. And one of the really cool and convenient things about this exercise is we can do the same thing leaning up against a table or a bench top, where as we do more of like an incline push-up position, the load that goes through that shoulder is less, but again, we're looking for that sense of fatigue. Because again, if we don't generate that sense of fatigue, your brain doesn't realize that it's not good enough at simple tasks, and it doesn't get prompted to come back stronger and better as quickly as we'd like. So what I would urge you to try is start by standing leaning up against the bench. Master that, see how that feels. As it gets easier for you, then start to progress down to more of a horizontal position. And what you should hopefully find in a very short amount of time is that that sense of instability may start to dramatically improve as you start to engage your shoulder musculature as a whole. By all means, keep doing your rotator cuff strength exercises, especially if you're working in specific ranges that are specific to you as an athlete or to the things that you want to do with your day-to-day life. But at least from my experience clinically, if we just leave you at that isolated rotator cuff strength level, then you may be missing the bigger picture of how to make your shoulder function better as a whole. And if you are a member of the channel, what I'd like to jump to next is ways to progress this even further. If you feel like the horizontal shoulder tap stability exercise is a little bit too easy for you. So once again, I genuinely hope that that idea resonated with you if you're dealing with shoulder instability. If you have a structural instability, whether you've dislocated your shoulder a number of times, you've had some surgery or some injury issues that have robbed you of that natural bony stability, don't completely sell yourself short until you go through some very basic global shoulder stability exercises. We don't know what the relationship is between that bony instability and the soft tissue function over the top of that until you really optimize both and see what's left over. So if you give this a go, let me know in the comments down below how you found this exercise. What effect did you feel it had on your shoulder instability, if anything at all? If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Obviously, please consider becoming a member if you want the extended cut of this video and others that I've put out previously. It's a great way to help support me and the channel. It allows me to keep making these videos for you guys. But once again, I genuinely hope that that was helpful and hope to see you next time.